How's it going, everybody? Welcome to Tombstone's Takes. I am Tombstone, and some of you might know that I have a hard time with TBRs. I am very much a mood reader. I don't know how somebody can chart out a course on what book to read. I know how people can chart out a course on other things to do, but books to read, man, just read what you want, when you want. That's what I do. I pick them up. However, one of the things that has done for me in my life is that it's created this big old backlog of books that I own but have never read. And so I have a bunch of those around the house, and I wanted to start reading them. And so I thought that a little TBR, books I own but have never read, would be a good game to play. And if I reviewed those books, that would keep me on track. So I chose 12 books that's going to last me the year. I will review all of them. I will probably do one a month. But also, there has to be at least one horror, one science fiction, one fantasy, and one crime book on the list. I've covered that all, and I'm going to show you what I have here to read. Now, I must have owned these books as part of the rules for what I'm going to do. I have to have had these books for at least 6 months. I've done that. I've got a great list of books here. Most of them are older. Some of these books have been in my house for decades. So let's see what I've got going on. Let's start with book one. So, book one, what is it, you might ask? Well, I've got Stephen King, Carrie. Man, some of you are going to be like, Tombstone, you read a lot of horror. I've seen a lot of horror reviews on your show. Why is it that you haven't read Carrie? Well, I don't know. I picked it up, I bought it, and then I read 20 other Stephen King books and 40 other horror books or whatever else it is I did. I just haven't read it, especially since you think I would have since it started the career of the most iconic horror writer of all time, but apparently I didn't. Better repent. I'm going to do so this year. Well, what's book two, you might ask? Well, book two is Tarzan of the Apes. Yes, I've never read this. That stuff was popular well before I was born. I think Tarzan of the Apes was first written or published in like 1912. Way before my time. But I grew up, I've seen all those movies. I've read the John Carter of Mars stuff. I've never gotten around to Tarzan of the Apes, and people are like, Tombstone, what are you doing? You need to read about this dude who grows up with the gorillas in the jungle. And I'm like, maybe not. I like Martians and Aliens better. But I think it's time. Tell me, do you like Tarzan of the Apes? Is it good? Am I gonna love it? I might not read it under the bed with a flashlight like I might with Carrie, but I'm gonna read it. Let's do it. Okay, so what's book three? Well, book three on my list is The Dragon and the Sword by Michael Moorcock. Yeah, The Dragon and the Sword. Now, man, look at this cover. Isn't this such a freaking fantastic cover? This Robert Gould cover. I love all the old Robert Gould covers. Anyways, yeah, I picked this up because I loved Elric and the Robert Gould covers back in the day. They were so good. I loved them. They were so iconic for the late 80s, early 90s fantasy stuff. And this is an Eternal Champion novel. And man, do I know who the Eternal Champions are other than Elric? I mean, I mostly read Elric. Well, I read Count Brass. Yeah, I've read a few others. But shh, don't tell anybody. I mean, Elric might get jealous that Michael Moorcock did other Eternal Champions, but I still love Elric. Let's hope that I love this one too, The Dragon and the Sword. What's book four, you might ask? Well, go ahead, ask. What's book four? Okay, I'll get to it in a second, but let me tell you, I don't know what order I'm going to read these. I just know that I'm going to read them all. Now, book four, what is it? It is called, boom, Caliban's Hour by Tad Williams. You know what? I was a teenager. I loved the Two Green Angel Tower trilogy. Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn is the name of the trilogy. But I loved it. I loved The Dragon Bone Chair, Stone of Farewell, all that stuff. And I saw that book. I think I was at Walden Book. Remember when they had Walden Book? Man, am I aging myself? B. Dalton Booksellers. I was in Walden Books. I saw this book. I was like, oh, Tad Williams. I love that dude. Bought it. Never read it. I know some of you have done the same kind of thing. Yeah, don't tell me you haven't. You have books that have been sitting around for decades like this one has. Never read it. So this year, I'm going to get to it. Is it good? Has anybody even read this book? Nobody talks about this book when it comes to Tad Williams, so let's read it. Hopefully it's good. Shh, I don't even know what Caliban's Hour is about. I haven't even read the Dust Jacket copy of that book. Not even close for years and years and years. Hopefully I like it. Book 5. What am I going to read for book 5? Well, book 5, I've got Special Deliverance. Yes, I know a bunch of you are going to get on here and be like, that's a Clifford D. Simak book. Everybody read Way Station, read The City, well, I've read Way Station, I've read The City, but I haven't read Special Deliverance. Maybe that's why I haven't read Special Deliverance, because I've read the ones that people are like, oh, read this by Clifford D. Simak. And, well, I've already read it, and I haven't read the rest of his catalog, so I'm going to do this one. Yep. I think it's about this professor who wants to know where this Shakespeare paper was written, and he finds out that it came from a slot machine, so he goes around the slot machines to, like, find out where the paper is from. Yeah. And then he gets, like, transported to some other world, and it sounds like half fantasy, half science fiction. I don't know. Sounds kind of weird. Well, that may be up my alley. So, it's going to happen. Promise it's going to happen. Now we're on to book 6. Well, what's book 6? Book 6 is Live by Night by Dennis Lehane. Man, I know he's an industry standard when it comes to crime and whatnot. I know he's one of the like, oh, gods and whatnot. And sometimes you need to get into other authors who aren't the well-known ones and the best, but there's a reason why the best are the best of for a reason. I love so much of his stuff. Everybody knows, Gone Baby Gone and Mystic River and all that stuff. So I haven't gotten to Live by Night yet because there's so many other ones. Shutter Island that everybody's like, oh, read Dennis Lehane, but I haven't read this one. And, gotta read it. I'm gonna do it. Tell me to do it. I'm doing it. Book 7 is another crime god when it comes to books. Who is it? Oh, well, it's Elmore Leonard. Be Cool. Yeah. So I've read Get Shorty. I've read quite a few of Elmore Leonard's books. And who doesn't like Justified? If you don't like Justified, get on that. That's some good TV. But anyways, Be Cool. Why have I never read the sequel to Get Shorty? Get Shorty was so funny and might have the funniest last line of a book I've ever read. Maybe. Potentially. People always talk about first lines, not last lines. Well, that last line was perfect, especially in context of the book. So Be Cool has got to be just as good, right? I mean, it's Elmore Leonard. They talk about him for a reason. I love him. Yes, probably got a lot of his books. But then again, there's a reason. Like I said with Dennis Lehane, there's a reason. Hey, Tombstone, what's book 8? Well, I got book 8 right here. This is from another pillar in the science fiction realm. This lady has won so many Hugos and so many Nebulas. And, well, you got to know that I'm talking about Connie Willis, right? To say nothing of the dog. Yes, it is one of, what do they call them? The Oxford books, whatever her time travel stuff is. I've read Doomsday Book. I've read so many other things by her. I love her stuff. Apparently, this has got a different tone than Doomsday Book. People say it's so funny. They love to read it. I hope I like it. Yeah, I probably will. I love her. I love a lot of her other stuff, so I'm going to get down into it. Who doesn't like a good time travel story every now and again? Book 9, what do I got? Half a King. Joe Abercrombie. I've read a bunch of other Joe Abercrombie stuff. Some people will be like, no, Tombstone, don't do it. It's YA. You know what? I don't give a darn if a book is YA or adult so long as it's good. I don't care if there's teens that are the main characters. I don't care about any of that. I just care about the book being good. Hopefully this one's good. I know it's starting a new series. These days, I try not to start fantasy series unless they're done, which means that I'm behind on some fantasy series because sometimes they take forever, forever. I mean, I started Brandon Sanderson in the Stormlight Archive, and I'm waiting and waiting and waiting, and he's pumping out like 20 other books every year, and it's like, Now, let's read the ones that are done. Half a King, Joe Abercrombie, book 9. Book 10, we're on to book 10 already? Well, what's book 10? Book 10 is Prince of Thorns by Mark Lawrence. Yeah. I'm sure, death and destruction and carnage and whatnot in your fan. I mean, it is grimdark, right? I mean, that's what they tell me. Who's this they that I'm talking about? I don't know. People love it. People love it. Look at that cover. I do think that's a pretty cool cover, I guess. I mean, it's pretty sparse. But I love them swords in there. You see them swords in there, almost like tombstones. And I'm Tombstone. And that's pretty cool. I mean, that has nothing to do with nothing. But I like the way that it looks. Yeah. And whatever it is down there looks like brains. I mean, they make, or sandbags. Nope, they're bodies. They're bodies. Oh, man. Like I said, carnage. I'm down with that. Let's move on to book 11. Book 11. I can't believe we're to book 11 already. Okay, but what is it? It is Lightning by Dean Koontz. Now, seriously, about 15 years ago, my brother was like, read Lightning by Dean Koontz. And so he gave me this copy. So technically, although this is books I own but never read yet, technically I don't own this book, but I've had it for about 15 years in my house. And I don't even know if my brother remembers that I got this book from him, but it's here. And if he wants it back, sorry, dude, I got to read it first. Maybe I'll mail it back to you afterwards. But Lightning. If I had Stephen King on the list, I better have Dean Koontz on the list too, right? But some of you might be like, expand your horizons. Oh, don't worry. I read other horror authors too, and fantasy authors, and crime authors, and science fiction authors. But these are books that I own that I've never read, except for this one. Because I just kind of forgot to never give it back to my brother. He don't care anymore. No, I'm pretty sure he doesn't. Okay, book 12. What's book 12? Well, it's Ubik. Philip K. Dick. You know, the guy that did Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, which turned into Blade Runner. Man, this dude has so many movies based on his works that you probably never even knew. But anyways, Minority Report, Blade Runner. Did I say Blade? I said Blade Runner. Anyway, Ubik, Philip K. Dick. This thing's been sitting around, and people are going to be like, dude, if you like science fiction, why haven't you read it before? Well, it's because I've been reading everything else. Oh, man. But I've got this list. They're 12 books. I hope I love them. Tell me which ones you like the best off of this, and tell me where I need to go in the future. Over the course of the next 11 months, I will do reviews on these books. I will tell you the good, the bad, the ugly, and interesting that I thought about them. I will rate them with tombstones, bibbidi-bobbidi tombstones. They'll fly across the screen at the bottom because of the magic of technology. But man, tell me which one I should do first. I'm not opposed to doing this. They don't have to be in the order that I say. I just gonna read them, pick it up. And in fact, I finished a book last night and haven't started one for today. So let me know. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you feel like it, and have a good day. This has been Tombstone's Takes. Enjoy.